right, good morning. We are back with another week of Mornings with Martin, brought to you by Ohatchee Discount Foods. Coach, another win last night. Moved to 6-1,
Yes.
6-1 on the season. All around great game. 58-21 over Glencoe. Talk about that win.
Yeah, we did play on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's right.
Beat the weather, and thank goodness, because it was kind of a nasty night last night. But it gave me an opportunity to come home and just be normal husband, normal grandpa, the whole 9 yards. On a more important note, I got to come home and grill some steaks and grill some vegetables and make a dessert and clean the kitchen, and actually got to bed at a decent hour last night, which I don't do on Friday nights. But we really played a good game. I was glad we moved it to Thursday. It helped Glencoe with their homecoming. It also helped us on the short week to get focused quicker. After a big win like we had a couple weeks ago, I worry about the post-game hangover and not coming out and taking care of your business. And, I thought from an emotional standpoint, our kids obviously weren't as emotional as they were 2 weeks ago, but that's not a bad thing. So when you're watching it live, sometimes it doesn't come across that you're executing or performing as good as you could. But, after going back and watching the video yesterday, I thought we blocked real well. I thought we tackled well. I thought our kids played hard. We made some great plays defensively early on. We got a bad snap on a punt, which set up our first touchdown. Got an interception out of Connor Baswell to set up our second touchdown, and from there it just kind of got rolling. And the great thing about games like that, once you can put them away, is the ability, especially in this COVID season. You struggle to get junior high and B team games, and so it gave every player that dressed out the other night a chance to get on the field for some snaps, and that's always a good feeling.
Speaking of which, you're talking about the emotion and recovering from that high. One thing that you've always stressed is, the first 3 or 4 minutes are always going to be exciting. People are going to be fired up.
Right.
But the team that executes past that, play after play, and people often ask me, hey, what's Coach Martin's big message? And I'll say he wants everybody to play fast, and he wants your best every play.
The key to winning those football games is going out there and out executing your opponent and being very sound in the fundamentals. Create those turnovers, eliminate those turnovers, and be the most physical football team. Not the first play, the most physical team every play. Every play. Every play. For 48 minutes. I told you, there'll always be a lot of emotion to start the game. Always! There's a lot of emotion. Both teams will be excited. But once the first 4 or 5 minutes wear off and it becomes a football game, then the team that executes is the team that takes it to the house. It's about execution, play after play after play after play. Hit them play after play after play after play.
I do, and a good point the other night. I think Glencoe came out, got the ball the first drive, actually made a first down, got it into our side of the field. They ended up punting it to us. We weren't able to convert, and we ended up having to punt the ball back to them. And so that first part of the game, there wasn't a lot of action either way. And I would think, from their point of view, it was going exactly the way they would hope it would go. And then once we settled in, we scored the next 8 drives in a row. So I was real pleased with our offense and defense. And like I said, it comes down to, it's the execution for 48 minutes. And it's regardless of what happened on this play, it's going to the next play. And it doesn't matter what the score is, it's still going to the next play. If you watch us on the sideline, we're going to coach those kids as hard as we can the 80th snap of the game as we did the first snap of the game. It doesn't matter what the score is, because the 11 guys that are out on that football field, I'm expecting their best on every snap.
Regardless
of the score. It doesn't matter. It's wasted time, and another thing I talk to them about all the time is, you work, in this case it was 3 days, but, you work normally a 4-day week practicing for the opponent you're getting ready to play. So why are we caught up thinking about last week, or why are we caught up thinking about what's down the line? Because the only game that you're getting to play is that one this week. So it ought to have your undivided attention. And I think that our coaches preach that message. It probably starts with me, but our coaches preach it, and then we're constantly talking to the players about that. So I think they got a pretty good grasp that each week it's about the opponent at hand, regardless of the record of the opponent, who it is. You hear people talking about playing faceless opponents. I mean, all we're trying to do each week is get better. And it doesn't matter who you play. And if you go down and you're playing a team that maybe is not as good as you, and you lower yourself and you win the game, but you don't play to the level that you think you're capable of playing, then in my estimation, in my belief, that's a step backwards. And so you're not doing yourself any favors. So we are constantly pushing those guys to get better every week.
I noticed the other night, coming out in the first quarter and part of the second quarter, Eli's throwing a better ball.
He is.
Is there any chance we see 5 wide this season?
5 wide. Probably not. Getting 2 people split out is probably about the wide that we're going to get, but Eli is doing that. Coach Finley and them they're doing a good job of working in the passing game. I mean, we came out with the thought the other night to work on it early, and we attempted some passes early on, and we were able to execute those well, and I was pleased with that. There's a lot of things that go into that. Not only is it the throwing, but it's the protection, it's running the right routes, it's running good routes, it's catching the football. And I think that, a lot of it goes, why don't y'all throw the ball? Well, we spend a lot of time working on the technique of our run game, but we are spending more time throwing it because, going into the Piedmont game, we had basically attempted out of our hand 10 passes on the year. And that night we attempted 10 passes out of our hand on that one game. So it's not that we don't throw the ball or can't throw the ball, but you got to throw the ball when it's necessary. And sometimes you throw it when it's not necessary. I mean, that's the way to make it successful. But I think that, we're trying to do a better job because I don't want people just to stack it up in there and say, well, they never throw the ball. Mm-hmm. So, my gosh, we're going to defense their run and make them pass. Well, if they do that, I want us to be able to throw the ball. And I think that the last couple of weeks, we've done a better job executing that and made that a priority in our offense.
Speaking of which, Eli's back. I don't want to say Eli's backup, but he is Eli's backup, I guess. But, you bring in Connor Baswell, who is just had another interception this week.
Right.
I don't know how many that makes for the season, but you would think when you see 4 go out and Connor come in, oh, they're going to do this. But Connor can run it or pass it.
Well, Connor's come in, and I mean, he's one of my favorites in the fact that he's got that blue collar mentality when it comes in. He is a hard worker. Everything he's got, he's earned. He's really improved, made improvements through his whole career, and defensively, starting at outside linebacker, is getting better and better and better. And like you said, he made a couple of picks, dropped in there and got one the other night that set up our second touchdown. But when he comes in, I've got a lot of confidence on him running our offense. He throws the ball well, and he runs it extremely tough. When he comes in there, he's not going to be flashy and make you miss and break off these spectacular runs. He's just going to run over you. And he's got that physical mentality. So I like bringing him in there. I don't hesitate to say, well, he's a backup, because really he's not. He's kind of like Eli's number 1, and he's 1A.
1A.
Because I believe he can come in and he can run our offense pretty efficiently, and he is a threat. He's a different type of run threat, but he can run the football. So just because he comes in, if people want to relax because 4's not in the game, I think that's a mistake.
It's looking, the playoff picture's starting to pan out somewhat. We could have a 3-way tie, and I don't know what the tiebreakers would be if that were to happen.
Well, I think if it finishes just like it is now, I mean, if Welborn were to beat Piedmont, then we would probably finish. Well, we'd finish in we finish in second. If Piedmont were to beat Welborn, and everything were to pan out, we were to win our last 2 region games, we would finish in a three-way tie and probably end up being third just through the tiebreaker. So it's crazy how tiebreakers work, but you know, to be honest with you, I mean, you're going to have to face the same teams in the North no matter what. So, you know, I hadn't put a whole lot of looking down the line of what's going to happen. I mean, obviously our full attention will be on Pleasant Valley this week. Again, us trying to get a little bit better, and then the next week we've got Weaver. You know, I feel like both these programs are in a little bit of a rebuilding mode right now. I mean, Coach Nick's graduated a lot of kids over the last couple of years, and he's rebuilding a little bit at Pleasant Valley, and Weaver is in a total rebuild, and we know
They've got
that.
a lot of youth.
But we've still got to, you know, do what we do normally to prepare for that game, and then we finish the year hosting Mumford, who's got a good 4A football program. Those guys have done a good job. Now, to be honest with you, I'm looking at, you know, we might not know the playoff picture until week 10. I mean, Piedmont and Wellborn don't play to the last region game in week 9, so you won't know our region how it's going to go. But then even knowing where we finish, you don't know how everything's going to finish in the other regions. So I don't put a whole lot of stock on that. I don't really look at playoff brackets. Some of our coaches might. You know, my thing is let's just finish wherever we finish and then get in the playoffs, because I know where we were 7 years ago, and if I could have told anybody, you know, we'd be in the playoffs, people would be excited. Now everybody's worried about where you're going, who you're playing, whatever. Look, you got to beat the best teams, and it's a tough North that you got to go through regardless of where you finish. So that's really not a concern of mine. But, you know, I'm kind of excited about looking at the guys we've got. I mean, guys that, you know, I think you'd asked me a question earlier about some of the guys that we have that might not get the attention that some of the star names have gotten this year. And I think I brought up Connor's name. Also, I think Devin Howell's doing a good job on the other side. And you know those two guys are important to me because, as you say all the time when I talk about setting edges, you know, those two guys are our edge setters. And so they are important to me, and I think they've done a really good job. You know, and then you just kind of look back there and look across the front. And, you know, across the front we've got, you know, I know King's played some, but we also bring in Eli Engel. We also have brought in, you know, Dalton Bennett plays, you know, he's really a quiet young man, and nobody says very much about him, but he does a great job on the front. And then
Zach
you know,
Haynes.
and Zach Haynes on the offensive line, you know, Brian Denny Turner on the offensive line, Luke Zurchin, you know, at the backside tight end who's pulling all the time. I mean, obviously Reeves and King and those guys, and then Duncan playing center. I mean, you know, every play starts with a snap. And you know, if you really want to see me get mad, just let us have a bad snap. And it's not even the blocking part of it I'm worried about, because I tell the center the most important thing you do is snap the ball. Because if the snap's bad, the rest of the play and the timing's off. So, you know, he does a really good job of that, and I probably don't give him enough credit for it. You know, some of those guys just don't get a lot of publicity, but they all do a really good job. And it takes, in our offense, it takes 11 people working in unison. It's not a one-man show, because we pretty much run it in a phone booth, and you got to be able to block to be able to play for us.
Now, 2 points, and I'm not going to let you get past without me bringing this up and asking you a specific question.
Okay.
Bryant Denny Turner. Now, you quickly passed over that. I need to. Is that a nickname, or is that his real name?
That's his real name.
Oh, roll tide. Roll tide.
That's his real name.
Okay. And you talked about setting the edges.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, you've got me so fired up. I was hollering and screaming at the TV because the corner was getting blocked, and he took the inside.
Yeah.
And the guy, it has now become one of my biggest pet peeves.
Well, I told you can't play defense if people can run around the end all day.
That's very true.
I mean, and it happens at every level. It doesn't matter, college, pros, whatever. If guys don't get the edges set, we're getting a little rain now. If guys don't get the edges set, it's not going to work very well.
That's true. Well, Coach, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to finishing out the season. And thanks to Ohatchee Discount Foods for sponsoring the show. anything else you want to say?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Average Joe's, for having me on. And it's time for me to go cook some waffles.
There you go. Appreciate it, Coach.